Hi everyone! So I'm going to introduce a couple things to you today in this video. First, we're going to talk about the musical basics of sound. That's 4 things: pitch, duration, dynamic, and timbre. I believe very strongly that thinking in terms of these 4 elements when discussing musical sound goes a very long way in making your writing more precise and linking any description of music that you might make to broader ideas like the music here is happy or scary or really any other vibe that you can think of. Secondly, I'm going to show you some basics of notation and how they relate to these musical basics. So I'm going to do that through a browser sandbox game called Paint Composer, which is a free browser-based version of Mario Paint. It's fun to play around with, and you'll get a chance to play around with it over this week and share what you made with your classmates. So let's look at Mario Paint. Paint Composer is basically a freeware version of Mario Paint, as I said before, and I thought it would be fun to frame all of the concepts we'll talk about this week mostly through this game because it's a game, and a lot of things about it resemble traditional notation that you would encounter in the literature or just in any video that you might watch about video game music. And if we go in and click around with it, you have your sounds up here, a variety of sounds. They all have cute little note heads. Some of them are clearly made for melodies, and some of them are made for beats, especially that one. These lines are called a musical staff, and you can click directly on to make a piece of music. There's a clear button down here that you can use to clear entire song. Okay, and then it brings the staff back to normal. So this brings us to talking about pitch. Pitch is the highness or lowness of sound. So on a staff, let's choose a more normal sounding one, maybe this alien head. Low pitched sounds are lower on the staff and they sound low. And high pitched sounds are high on the staff. If you press space, that is an example of a low-pitched group of sounds and a high-pitched group of sounds. So let's hit go to start. It brings us right back. And in notation, if you stack on top, you create something called a chord. So pitches can happen one at a time, or stacked. So that's pitch. Clear all this. The second feature of music is duration. And duration is whether a sound is long or short. Duration is only long or short. It is not happy, it is not high, it is not quick, only long and short. You have 2 words. And the way that we work with it in this is this number here. So if you put a low number, like 1, you have a note of that length. But if we have a note of 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The notes are longer in duration. So that's duration. In the case of duration, it can be hard sometimes to choose. Sometimes there are notes, if we put a very small number, like 0.25, yes, the notes are short. And clearly the notes before that are long. But if we have something in the middle, it can be hard to commit to either long or short, in which case I encourage you to just choose one. If it seems kind of short, you can say kind of short and have a little nuance there. But it has to be one of the 2. And then if you have 2 to compare, then you can say this note is longer, say a duration of 4 is much longer than a duration of 0.25. Clearly the second note is shorter than the first note. So again, in Paint Composer, this area down here is where you adjust duration. Okay, I'm gonna go back to start and hit clear again. You'll be hitting the go to start button and play button to test out what you wrote a lot. so just get used to it. You can also press spacebar to play what you wrote. The third feature of sound we're going to talk about is dynamic, which is the loudness or softness of sound. This can get confusing because dynamic is used in a lot of ways in this class. You might see in writing about video game music the word dynamic applied to music that is interactive, that changes as you play the game. Yes, there are multiple definitions, and I know that's a bit confusing, but try not to worry. When we're talking about sound, it's always good to check, what are we talking about here? If we're talking about the musical sound and it says the dynamic is loud, then we know what we're talking about. So the way you alter dynamic here is through this button called velocity, and then you can click on each note head, and if you go up, it's louder, and down, it's softer. So let's put these all in the red, and let's make a couple more alien heads and make those guys kind of soft. So we'll click on each one of them and bring them down. And let's hear the difference. So those 4 short notes are clearly much softer than the 3 really loud notes. Sometimes when talking about dynamics, the basic terms are loud and soft, but you might hear Italian terms like forte and piano.
It's me, Mario!
I encourage you to, unless you are talking about Western classical music, please just know you don't have to use those. Italian dynamics determine the vibe as much as they determine the loudness or softness. A lot of the times they'll also determine tempo. So they're more complicated than just a loudness description, and if you're using chat will like to drop in musical Italian, but unless you're like really sure about what it means, I really encourage you to not use it. Just say loud or soft. And like duration, sometimes it's hard to commit to loud or soft. You might want to say mid. I encourage you to choose one. And then when you listen to more music, you'll be able to say, oh, the sounds that happened later are softer. It's all relative. So the final of the 4 ways to describe sound that we'll talk about in this video is timbre. Timbre, also sometimes called tone quality, is a tricky term if you haven't talked about it before. But basically, timbre is the thing where if everything is the same, if duration is the same, so let's set it at 1. If dynamic is the same, so everything will be kind of loud. If pitch is the same, so we'll put it all in the same place on this staff. Timbre is what makes different instruments or voices sound different. In the case of the Composer app we have here, all of these little icons here have different timbres, and it makes it kind of fun to talk about it. So I'm going to build something here real quick where everything has the same pitch because it's on the same line of this staff, not higher or lower. The same duration because this horizontal line is the same length, and the same dynamic because we haven't messed with it using this button here. Yeah, so these are, excuse me for that extra snail over there, the same in every way except timbre. The alien heads have kind of a slightly buzzy, maybe focused timbre. The ice cream cones have a clear, more mellow timbre. And the snails have a slightly warmer but also clear timbre. So I'm using very specific words. You'll notice sometimes there's overlap between these words. That's okay. And as long as you're using correct words, and I have a list of words to help you get through describing this that I encourage you to download and keep handy as you're describing things. As long as you use 2 to 3 of the correct words, you are doing fine describing timbre. Do not worry about choosing the correct word, as long as you are not describing a feeling and not using words that might be used for pitch or dynamic or duration, you're doing fine. Okay, so thank you for watching. This week you're going to do a couple things in this Paint Composer app, so I encourage you to bookmark this website. There will be lots of links to it on Canvas, and just play through it throughout the week and explore its features. If you ever need to completely reset it, if you have encountered something that has just messed it up beyond all recognition, you hit clear and it sets you back to 0. You can also, if you're interested, this is available on Steam for $15, but you do not need to buy it. It's just a way to support the creator if you think this app is fun. You can also log in and create an account. Again, optional, but if you thought this app was fun and you want to see contributions of others, then you can do that. And that's pretty much it. So have a great time with this week, and be on the lookout for more videos in the module.